Welcome to another exciting episode of the Connected Instructor podcast. I'm your host, Landon Michelson, and today we're diving deep into the world of golf improvement with a guest who's truly revolutionizing how we approach the game. Joining us is Michael Leonard, the mastermind behind Wicked Smart Golf podcast. Michael's journey truly is nothing short of inspiring and inspired me to create this podcast. I really enjoy, I was on Michael's podcast recently and I really enjoyed being on there, just from some of the research that I've done about him. He dropped 50 shots in high school, and then he ended up playing collegiate golf. So, we have a similar kind of background there. I dropped a lot of shots and played college golf, and even participating in Q school, as an amateur, which is such a cool thing that not everybody gets to experience. Now he's a full-time golf writer. He's written over 3.5 million words. And he's the host of a phenomenal mental golf coaching podcast called Wicked Smart. I highly recommend you guys listen to it. Great information, and you guys can learn a lot. So really excited to have Michael here with us, and thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I had so much fun with our first conversation. I was like, dude, you need to start a podcast, and here we are. So I love that you took action. And I think that's how you find success in golf and life. Just, you got to figure it out. Like we talked about before we record, no one knows what they're doing, right? It's just trying to help people. And, you have a huge Instagram, and obviously you have tons of experience. So I have no doubts that your podcast will crush it, man.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And, I went back and I listened to that podcast, even though I don't like listening to the sound of my voice, but I really thought that we covered some great topics. And, you kind of left with a little note card of information. What did we kind of cover, and what were some things that you took away from our conversation last time?
Yeah, man, I took away a lot. I had a great talk with you, but the biggest thing was I had just a terrible year putting. I mean, it was I've always thought I was a decent putter, to maybe even, if we're going out of 10, 7, 7.5, 8, like I always thought I was pretty good. This year was like a 4, maybe, probably being nice, probably like a 2. I went through the yips, which was terrifying, but I'm really glad it happened, because I know, God forbid it does ever happen again, I know what to do, and I can help all my mental golf coaching students instead of just theory. Like, oh yeah, I've actually known what it feels like for an alien to take over your body and miss a 1-foot putt. Like, I know what that's like. So I think that there's always a silver lining if you can find it, kind of thing. So my putting was atrocious, which sucked, because at the beginning of the year, my ball striking was arguably the best it's ever been, and I've never considered myself a great ball striker. I don't think anyone would fight you on that either. And so it was just like, man, I couldn't get everything to sync up, which, you're always going to have one part not, quite as good as the other 3, but this was really bad. And so eventually it turned into my swing going south as well, because I was probably just trying to hit it so close and, give myself the best chances, because I had zero confidence on the greens. And I had done everything. I mean, I bought 10 different books. I talked with my mental coach. I mean, hypnotherapy, I was doing it all. But that's the thing. I refuse to give up, because I'm like, it's Tiger survived the chipping yips. I can figure this out too, right? And the chipping or the putting yips was only one little part of it, but I just was missing putts, literally just missing putts consistently. And so when we talked, we were talking about how you had that similar thing, and you wrote a note card down about just making it really simple and reframing your attitude on the greens, right? And putting is pretty simple compared to the full swing, right? It's not 115 miles an hour. You're not swinging it, super fast and trying to hit it 300. It's right in front of you. And so it's really more of a mental battle. And so you told me to write down, I am the best putter in the world. I don't know if you told me. I just decided to do it because my putting was pretty much in the dumps. So I just said, I am the best putter in the world. And I swear to God, I was repeating that 50, 100, 200, 500 times a day sometimes, driving, working out, in the shower, hitting range balls, hitting putts, just all the time. I was doing it all the time, because I know the power of affirmations, and, it takes a lot of repetition to rewire your subconscious and get belief in yourself. And so I just kept at it. I definitely got a new putter as well. I needed to look at something, kind of get a fresh start. And man, knock on wood, it has been just a truly spectacular turnaround. I had 2 of my best putting tournaments ever. I gained 2 shots on the PGA Tour on one of the 9s. I was pretty much right around even on strokes gained, which was pretty impressive, because so some of those greens were tough. I had 12 putts on one of my tournaments, and that affirmation is just staying with me, and I'm just saying it all the time. And it just goes to show how important the mindset is for, improving in anything. But I think that, I also put in the work. I've been practicing more. I had the right putter and stuff, but I think it's all part of it. And I think that too many guys just go away from the mindset piece, whether you're putting, chipping, any part of the game. That's like when I work with students, I just listen to what they say because I know that half the time they're talking themselves out of the shot before they even get there. And it's like, this is really my Achilles heel, or I've never been a good driver. I'm always a bad putter. Like, I'm listening to what people are saying there to try and help them get out of that rut. And I kind of had went in there. I wasn't even really saying negative things to myself, but, just consistently not seeing the ball go in the hole, it kind of worn me down a little bit. So I needed something to restart. And working with you on one podcast made a big difference.
That's so cool. Hey, I had a very similar experience to that. So I think, for the people who aren't familiar with that episode, go listen to it. But this is like the gist of the story was went down and played the Jamaican Open after I'd essentially quit professional golf, finished third or fourth, like 5 shots back of the leader with like 11 3-putts. And I'm flying home with my buddy Eddie, and he's like, I'm mad. I'm like, I'm the worst putter in the world. This is no fun. I hate golf. Putting is so stupid, dumb. Da, 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 da. He's like, bro, I don't want to hang out with you if you keep on talking like this. You got to tell yourself you're the best putter in the world. And he's like, well, second best putter because I'm the best putter. I'm like, all right, whatever, Eddie. And every single day he like force fed it down me. So you have more discipline than I do. You wrote it down. I had it force fed to me.
There are no cards throughout my house, in my car. They're everywhere. My girlfriend's now the best putter in the world because she just sees it.
Just hacking everybody. Everyone's got to be around you. I love it. And then I took that mentality 1 week later, went and made clutch putts on 15, 16, 17 and won the tournament by 2. And it was just like everything.
Well, the funny thing with putting is like once you just see a couple go in, it's amazing how quickly your confidence can come back. Like it really, it doesn't take as much, as a full swing. I feel like. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Like once you see one ball roll end over end in the center, you're like, all right, I got this. And the cool thing that solidifies it in your brain when you have this self-belief is every putt that goes in is an affirmation that I am the best putter in the world. Like, that's right. That is who I am. And it almost makes it easier to practice. Like you're talking, you went and got fit. You got a couple of tips. But now that you believe that you're great at it, it's easy for you to do it a little bit more as opposed to like, God, I hate putting. I don't want to go practice. And you're just like throwing tantrums.
Yeah. Yeah, and I even had my mental coach on, the guy who created Mental Golf Type, I think the 2 weeks after I talked with you, and he's like, yeah, that's a great affirmation, and then you can add like a trigger. He's like, I see you fist bumping on Instagram. He's like, I want you every time you fist bump to literally say that to yourself. So it's like a subconscious kind of trigger. It's like anchoring it in. So yeah, it's funny how the mind works sometimes, and just you have to set yourself up for success. I mean, that's really the whole reason I started this brand, is because I was just like so tired of seeing people not believing in themselves, never thinking they could get better, never practicing the right way, having the, terrible attitude. Because I've made every mistake you can probably make in golf, and I'm still making them, but I'm trying to make fewer, right? But it's like that's why I like to help people, because it's amazing what little mindset shifts can do to your score and just your fun. Like this is fun for like you playing professionally, of course, but 99% of us, we've never played this for a job. Like you're paying a lot of money sometimes too to not have any fun. And I've been there. So it's like, I want to just people to like enjoy themselves. And then when you do have more fun, you usually play better too.
Oh, absolutely. And I think like this is like the mental side of the game is the part of the game that is like the lowest hanging fruit, because we truly like by like what you showed by the note card, like just by doing that and making the decision to say, I am going to change my belief about myself, made a miles difference on your golf game, where you can put equal amount of effort into the range and you'll see this like small amount of improvement. I forgot that this is an audio medium, so you got to make sure that we can let the people know about it. But yeah, I think everyone needs to go check out his podcast, Wicked Smart Golf. It's just fantastic, and he does a great job of making golf fun for everybody, by making people enjoy the game a little bit better. So something that I wanted to get into was this mental golf type. I thought it was so interesting when I was kind of doing some research. Can you kind of talk to us like what is the mental golf type program? How do you kind of go about categorizing people into their persona, so to speak?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question, and just to even take it like big picture, like I have struggled with the mental side of things as much as anyone over the years. I mean, I've broke more clubs than I can count. I lost I didn't lose it. I threw it. I threw a 5-wood in the lake. punched more steering wheels than I can count. I mean, my dad's almost pulled me off golf courses when I was a junior. I mean, I was terrible. I'm happy to admit that, like whatever, but I've improved. So I want everyone to know that wherever you're at, you can get better, but it does take work, right? And habits are really ingrained in there. And some of us just run hotter than others. I admire those guys that can hit a terrible shot and not react to it. I wish I had that ability. So it's like everyone is wired a little bit differently, but you have to understand that the more mad you get and the more emotional you get, the more it's going to lead to those costly blow up holes. So the whole goal is with mental golf type and really just the mental game in general is just like, how can we get ourselves ready to hit the shot mentally? Because there's all these guys that are phenomenal range players and then they go to the course and they suck. Mm-hmm. And like my coach said, like your motion doesn't break down in that 100 yards, right? Like what happened? Well, your mindset changed. You might have had cortisol racing through your body all of a sudden because you're worried about what people are going to think about you. You hate this first tee shot because all these people are watching. You never hit it good on this first tee shot because there's out of bounds left and you always hook it. Like all these things change all of a sudden because the driving range is nothing like the golf course. So it's really important to just understand what is the role of the mental game. And the role is to stay out of stress so that you can get in the zone more often. And the zone, and you know it as well as anyone, because you're obviously a very skilled player, but everyone can get there, but everyone gets there a little bit differently. And that's when I kind of discovered mental golf type, because I've been invested in this mental side for years and, reading the Dr. Bob Rotella books and watching anything I can on YouTube and just working with sports psychologists and just trying to understand more. But the mental golf type system really spoke to me because it was basically a mental fitting for your mind. So just like, me and you get fit for clubs, getting the right shaft, the right driver, everything is dialed for our swing. Well, all mental advice isn't really created equal. Some of it, is probably going to be good for everyone, but a lot of it is going to be really individualized. And so when I first learned about mental golf type, you take an assessment, you answer 10, 15 questions about, how you perform your best or whether you're talking to people or how you pick targets, like all these different stuff. Very easy. It takes like 5 minutes to take. And then you get your personality type. So it's just like if you're in the corporate world, you take a personality type to learn, how your boss should manage you and what your skills are and what your, areas to improve are. So I'm an ENTJ. And so the easiest way to think of it is E is extrovert. So you're either an extrovert or an introvert. And I never thought how being introverted or extroverted on the golf course could actually help or hurt my performance. So obviously I'm a talker. I like chatting a little bit, as you can tell. And the problem is that I love Tiger. He's right there behind for those watching. And I would always try to play golf like Tiger. And how does Tiger play? Head down, doesn't talk to people, just like, fuck you, I'm here to win, right? It sounds cool, but I'm not the Terminator. I don't have the skills, and I'm not hardwired like Tiger. However, you have the flip version, is Phil Mickelson, for example. Extrovert, right? Giving the thumbs up, just loving it, talking to playing partners, talking to Bones back in the day. They had a great rapport. Very different players, but they obviously both knew how to play their version of being themselves to get the most out of their performance. Well, that's exactly what mental golf type is that it's teaching you how to play based on how you're hardwired with your innate skills. So it's showing you, hey, you are an extrovert. As an extrovert, you should do X, Y, Z during the round. Hey, you're an introvert. When things go bad, you should do X, Y, Z. Because again, the whole thing is to try and stay out of stress. Because if your cortisol is racing and your heart's racing and you're just stressed out, you are not going to be able to make that calm, cool, committed swing you can make on the driving range. So the whole goal is learning how to be your own mental coach out there, self-assess, quickly fix things when they aren't going right. Because again, it's not like you learn this and you're never going to make a mistake again. You still are going to go into your old habits. You're still going to react to bad shots. So it's like giving you a sense of toolbox for how you're hardwired versus just, hey, do these 10 mental golf tips that are going to work for everyone. So it's really more individualized. And when I took it, I started playing better. I started having more fun. And then I, started working with the creator of it. And I've had him on my show and we've had a really good relationship. And I've just learned so much from him as a mentor. And you just start to realize that the mental game is a lot more individualized than most people think.
I find that so interesting. So I just started, I am an assistant coach for a high school boys golf team. And so I'm trying to understand how to communicate a lot of these mental golf ideas to, high school kids who don't necessarily know themselves very well, mm-hmm. and who are all different kind of people. So, going back to, I said you improved 50 shots in high school. If you can go back and give your high school you this new self-understanding of your ENTJ style of playing golf, what would you tell high school you, and how would that, like, what changes would you make to that golfer there?
Man, there's so many changes. So I definitely improved 50 shots for a lot of reasons. One of them was I was only 410 when I went into high school, so I hit it like 180. Not going to beat up a lot of golf courses hitting it that far. So, that there was a lot of different things, obviously short game, mental game, but just mental game specific. It is hard because I work with a lot of high school kids with mental golf coaching and some college students as well. And those are I won't say harder, they're actually easier in a sense because you haven't really established all these bad habits that a 45-year-old guy might have over the last 20 years. So you're kind of being able to mold them a little bit more at an earlier age when they can like figure it out. But at the same time, like you mentioned, they don't really know themselves a lot, and there's so much competition for these young kids, and they feel that like, I want to get to college, I want to get to this school, and so there's so much pressure. So I would say the biggest thing that I always tell, because I actually do presentations for high schoolers and different teams, is to just stop worrying about the score and stop worrying if you're good enough. That isn't necessarily specific to the mental golf type, but that's just like a general mental tip that absolutely can help everyone, because so many people go out there and they're like, today's the day I'm breaking 100. Today's the day I'm going to shoot par. Today's the day, and it's like, I like goal setting, but do it off the golf course. And you're only going to make golf so much harder. So I can just think about every time I would go out, because we had 10 guys and you're qualifying for 5 spots or whatever for the varsity team to go play in the match. So I'm imagining me at 14, 15, 16, just being like, today I got to shoot even. Today I got to shoot 39, and I'll make it. And it's like, that just never probably helped. And I know it definitely doesn't now. I mean, I never set a score goal. I'll set birdie goals sometimes just to like stay a little bit more aggressive. And, if I know it's like a 1-day cut or something like, or a 1-day qualifier, but like just not having that, pressure hanging over you, because let's say you say, hey, I'm going to shoot 72 today. Today's my day, because you have a great warm up, and then you triple the first hole. Well, most people mentally collapse, and it's like, well, the day's over now. So it's like, there's so much variability with golf already, and then you made it even more difficult by putting an artificial number out. What if the greens suck? What if there's 30-mile-an-hour winds? Like, you have no idea. So it's just like, stop making golf so hard. And so I would tell high school Mike, hey, stop getting so mad, and then, have that like a realization that, trying to set score goals is how you probably won't do it. Instead, just be really committed to your process. So that's probably like the first thing that I would tell younger me / any golfer out there is figure out how you can disassociate with the results and focus more on the things you can control, because you can hit great shots and maybe it hits the flag and bounces off the green. You were looking at birdie, now you make bogey. You can hit a great putt, it lips out. Like, there's a lot of things we can't control out there. So control what you can control. And then the second thing would be to manage your expectations. I think half my meltdowns came from being pissed off that I didn't hit it inside 10 feet from 100 yards when I didn't realize that the PGA Tour average is 25 feet or whatever it is, So it's like, if you go out there and you think, I'm going to play great, I'm going to throw darts, I'm going to never miss a fairway, I'm never going to 3-putt, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. So I think having the right mindset even before you hit a single tee shot is so key. And I think that the other mental golf type thing for me, again, as an extrovert, would be to stay chatty. Because anytime when high school, that's 20 plus years ago. So, just thinking about it though, I know that when I hit a bad shot, my head would go down. I would get introverted. I try to fix it. I wouldn't talk to anyone. And that is absolutely making it even worse, because again, I'm an extrovert. I relieve stress and tension from talking and looking up, keeping good body language, eyes up, eyes scanning. So my head goes down, I go internal, I start beating myself up. And so, that's another one that you just have to know how you're hardwired. If you're an introvert and you hit a bunch of bad shots and you put your head down, you actually can kind of get away with it and be like, hey, this is a little mental recharge. This is me to, separate from everything. So it's, again, just figuring out how you're hardwired and then trying to play like that as often as possible. And again, the introvert extrovert's just the first letter. There's so much more about it. But that's why I think it's so fun, because you don't really have to do anything. It's in fact trying to just be and play golf more like yourself.
Right. And you have, all of the golf mental books that are out there. Everyone's trying to give you good advice to help you. But if they're not really understanding the differences of, if you do stay quiet, it could be a mental recharge, or you chatting is you actually staying positive and uplifting, where, sometimes if you go and tell someone, you got to put a big smile on your face and walk all happy up like down the fairway, might work for some people. You can probably say it would lower cortisol and by raise DHEA, but then maybe, maybe for some people, they really just got to like get a little mad, get a little angry.
Yeah, you got to process it. I talked to Colin Morikawa's mental coach earlier in the year, and he's like, some people just need to learn how to process the right way. Some people, like we said, like they can hit a terrible shot and they're totally fine. Like DJ, he can hit a bad shot, he doesn't even care, right? Other guys, Tiger, others, get a little feisty, but as long as you can do it and process it and not interrupt anyone else and, not be, like a terrible person out there, and like you have to process it though, because too many people sometimes, like myself, I would like just, keep it inside, and then Chernobyl would happen 5 holes later when 5 times I hit, bad shots and I just kept boiling over. So it's like, yeah, you have to, again, it all comes back to knowing yourself. And at 18 or shit, probably until 30, I didn't really know who I was. So it's like, it's hard as a high schooler and, even college, like there's just so much competition too, and they make it so much harder on themselves. So I think at the end of the day, it's about figuring out how you can be more of yourself and have fun, because when you are yourself and you are playing more relaxed, that's when you're going to take your range game more to the golf course.
Oh, definitely. And personally, like when I play my worst is when I don't even know who is on the golf course. I'm like, who is this person? Like, it's not me. Like, it's just a completely different personality. I'm like,
did you have like an alter ego for yourself, like a good you and a bad you?
Yeah, I did. I actually, on my last podcast, I just talked about it. But yeah, like creating like this alter ego of the Don, that was his name, who just like goes out and just dominates.
I
and like
love
really, really trying to like bring that person in. But it's like when bad me would show up, it was not good. And so I would understand. I figured out, write down after my rounds, I'd journal and be like, what did I do when I 3-putted this hole? And then I stopped going through my process. I stopped visualizing. I started doubting myself. And then that was a negative spiral. So then the next time I went out and played, I would be able to realize, okay, if these things start to happen, we got to just bring out the Don. We gotta pop the collar a little bit. We gotta put on the chain.
You gotta have swag. So I just had to show you, because I've been doing that as well. And so I have a note: when I'm playing my best, here's what I'm doing. I know it looks like a lot, but that's like, I'm focused, I'm optimistic. I go through my green reading every single hole. I commit to the line. Like, I compliment playing partners. I'm having fun. I'll do some club twirls. I'll do a fist bump. Like, I'm not robotic. Like, again, it doesn't work for everyone, but I just started writing down exactly like you said, what am I doing when I'm playing well? Or even if I don't play well for the whole round, like, what does that stretches of good golf look like when you are in the zone? And it's amazing that you can, use that. It's so easy, but people like neglect it. So it's like, learn from everything: good rounds, bad rounds, middle of the pack rounds, learn from it all. And like, then you can start to develop the blueprint of how you are when you are playing your best. The Don, I love that, by the way.
I think the last podcast was the first time I ever said that out in public, so might as well let the cat out of the bag. But no,
absolutely.
I think that right there, because I want to talk about, you mentioned we want our pre-shot routine and all of that to eliminate stress, so then we're able to just like go through our process. Would you say that right there, what you just showed us on the phone, is that your process? Or is that like how would you kind of define your process?
Yeah, so that takes a while. I don't want to say it takes a while, but I think it takes knowing that each step you do should be intentional. Like, don't just do it because you do it, or Tiger does it, or some, like, every part of my routine is for a specific purpose. So I hate when people like say, oh, I really like how this person does their routine. Like, I did this, for example. Justin Thomas, love JT, love his fire, love his passion. He has that little thing where he kind of checks his takeaway, at the, and like 100 guys do that. But I always like JT, so I was like, I'm gonna model. This is pre-mental golf type. This is 2020, 2021. So I look at all my old swing videos and I'm doing that. But that's exactly how I'm not hardwired. Once again, so I am an ENTJ. So N is intuitive. So about 25% of the population are intuitives, 75% sensors. So Justin Thomas is a sensor, and sensors are good with step-by-step instructions. Like, if I do X, then I get Y. Intuitives are more big picture, like, just show me the target, or hey, show me the cake I need to make, and I'll just figure it out. Same thing with golf. Like, just there's the target. Like, I don't have to think about swing thoughts. I don't have to think about checkpoints. So all of a sudden, here I am trying to mirror obviously a major winner, a great player, but that's not how I'm hardwired. And it would actually slow my routine down, and I would be thinking about technique. When I look at tournaments I've won, when I look at my best tournament rounds, when I, have had eagles and, shooting in the 60s and making it, I was never thinking about any sort of swing thought. Not to say swing thoughts or swing feels like you brought up are a bad thing, but it's going to be different for how you're hardwired. And so for me now, like if I was doing the old JT, when I'm over the ball, I would be here. I'd barely look up the target. I'd be doing my checkpoint. I'm thinking too much. Again, I'm not looking at my target. But as intuitives, I need to look at my target more. So now that I realized that, once I went through mental golf type, I'm like, well, that was a pointless move. But I did that because a pro was doing it. So now I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. So now when I'm over the ball, I spend 6 of my 8 seconds looking at the target, because that's how I'm like, hey, here's where I want it to go. I'm imagining it. I'm, really getting clear on my zone up there, and I have intention for it. So there is intention for every part of my routine. And that's why I like mental golf type too, because it makes it clear on how you should create a routine based on how you're hardwired. Again, everyone should have routines. I think that everyone's going to benefit, but mental golf type really dials it down even more so you know that each part is helping the way you're hardwired, and not just because Tiger did it or JT did it.
That's so interesting. And so, yeah, like really making sure that each part of the process is intentional for you. Like everybody's going to be a little bit different.
Don't go through the motions. That's right. You think about the swings you've had where you just like lackadaisical. You're not really focused. You're not really, given a good practice swing, and you get up there and you hit a pretty, mediocre shot a lot of times. But it's like those times when you're laser focused on your target. You really know the shot you want to hit. You know your feel if you have a feel. You're dialed in, and you're going to it's just about setting yourself up for more, success and more opportunities. It doesn't mean you're never going to hit bad shots, but I just like that we're setting ourselves up for success. And a lot of times a routine can also help with alignment and, just making sure your little checkpoints at the setup are good to go. Because as you know, as a swing coach, half the time problems are just stemming from ball position, alignment, so if your routine can help with that, you're getting ready to hit a lot more good shots.
Oh, definitely. And I was listening to one of your podcasts before you came on, and you were talking about, you don't really have a whole lot of swing thoughts, kind of like you just said, but you have more setup thoughts or setup feels. I thought that was great, because it's like everything that I kind of look for when I'm watching somebody on the golf course is setup related. It's like, do I know what shot you're trying to hit just by looking at you? I should know that you're hitting a low fade by looking at the way that you're getting set up into this shot. I should know that like you're going to be able to rip this drive based on the energy that you have walking into there, or the body language, confidence walking into the putt. Every little bit of that is much more important kind of in the performance elements of golf than the 0.3 seconds of my backswing or whatever. Not saying that it's not important, but it's going to happen based on kind of the physics that you get everything
I think Tiger's a great example. Like, what shot he's going to hit. His practice swings, he's doing the helicopter finish if he has to hit a big slice, or he's, feeling it out. Like, those are intentional. That's not just like lazy. Like, he's telling his mind, like, literally, this is the shot I'm going to hit, and then he's making his body feel it, right? So that's all intention. So most guys have no routine, and if they do, it's simply going through checking boxes, but it's not really being 100% committed to it, I feel like.
For sure. So since you're more of a big picture guy, what is the big picture of the process that you're trying to go through? Like what's the end result? Like, what are you trying to achieve, and then what are the kind of the steps that you need to go through to be able to develop a good process? Like, let's say you're somebody who's listening to this for the first time, has no idea how like process. But I get up and I shoot the flag and it says 150 yards and I hit my 150 yard club.
You nailed it. I mean, that's it. So let's start at the beginning. So that's exactly what most people do. And it's like the number you hit with your range, like rangefinders are a gift and a curse. It's like they're nice, they're going to speed up play. I'm so old. I remember the sprinkler head days, and pacing off and looking for the 150 pole and everything. But it's like it's so funny because that's exactly what most people do. And then they'll take they'll like 150, take their 150 club, take one practice swing next to it and just hit. And it's like, okay, slow down. There's like 9 mistakes there that are just setting you up for failure. So first things first, look at the lie. What is the lie going to let you do? That's the first thing that people do not think about nearly enough. Is it sitting down a little bit? Is it in the rough? Is it a flyer? Is it above your feet? Is it below your feet? What's the rough going to do? Like that's the first thing. So like the lie ultimately should dictate your club way more than most people think. Then it is a good idea, of course, to laser the flag, your distance. But then, I was talking with a PGA Tour winner on my podcast and a couple weeks ago, and he was saying, it's just how important it was when he's in events. He's talking with his caddy, what is the carry distance? And so even if you don't have a caddy, like give yourself clarity on working backwards. So for example, for this 150 shot, we got 150 to the flag. Well, where's the flag at? Is it front, middle, or back? Let's just say it's in the back. So if it's back, we don't want to miss long because then we're short-sighted and we're making doubles a lot more likely, and you're going to make a lot more bogeys. You're just not going to save as many. So we obviously don't want to short-side ourselves. So instead of hitting at 150 and then hitting and then rolling long, let's maybe go 143, and then we're going to be middle of the green. If it's, let's just say it's a normal lie, it's not going to jump or anything. Okay, so now all of a sudden a 143 club might be a little different than a 150 club. So now you can almost think like that's a whole club difference because you're just trying to think about where's the best place to leave myself. And it's not usually firing at the flag. It's more like, okay, how can I, just make it as less stress as possible? So in that case, now all of a sudden it's like, okay, 143 is actually my number. But then should we really aim at the flag? Well, if it's in the middle of the green, probably. But if it's tucked behind a bunker and you're a 15 handicap, favor the middle of the green. Like, take the ego out of it. That's the biggest problem with most guys. And I mean, it's just ego gets in the way. And I've done that countless times, right? It's like, oh, well, I have a wedge in my hand. I can fire at a flag. Probably not. I mean, you're still going to miss a lot of shots.
And that goes back to the expectation management, like you were saying.
Yeah, so it's like you're reverse engineering it. And so people are like, oh, that takes a lot of time. It's like, it takes more time, but at the same time, you're going to get to a point where this is automatic, and you'll get up there and you'll say, here's the lie. And you're just like a detective. It's like, what's the lie going to get? Then what's the wind going to do? Where's the pin at? Where do I want the ball to go? That's all you really have to figure out. And then you pull the club. We take our practice swings. We're, again, focusing on that target, and we're getting clear about it. But the whole goal of this process that we're talking about is to give your mind clarity, because most people are standing over it thinking, man, I've been hitting that 7-iron pretty shitty lately, or, oh, man, that water's short. I'm always in that water. Don't hit in the water, and so we're just painting a picture, but it's not a good one. And so you got to be really careful about the words we use. If you're saying don't, you're not committed, and you need to restart, unvelcro your glove, snap your fingers, do something to just be like, okay, we got to restart this. This is not the right one. Because if you're saying don't, the word don't only has negative memories to it. I mean, if your mom told you don't, it was never, don't be doing your homework, right? It's always a negative thing to begin with, and it just confuses your mind, right? So it's like, let's clarify where we want the ball to go. So, that's kind of something I'll always do with like putting. It's like, hey, where's the ball going in the hole at? Where do I want this to go? So ask your mind better questions, and it will give you better answers. So when you're on that approach shot, where do I want this shot to end up? Where's the best place to try and make par from here? Where's the best putt, or best place to have a good birdie putt? So ask yourself the right questions and kind of reverse engineer it. And then in this example, instead of hitting 8 that you were thinking because it's 150, now you take 9. If you hit it great, it might get all the way back. If not, it's middle of the pin or middle of the green, and you're going to hopefully 2-putt. And if you don't hit it great, you're still probably on the front. So it's like, that's a simple way to do it. Obviously, if you have yardage books and you're in tournaments, you can kind of geek out on a little bit more and your distances. But that's the other thing that most people forget about, is they have no idea how far they actually hit every club. So you could do everything I just said and be absolutely dialed and feel like your bones out there. But then if you don't know how far you hit every club, it doesn't really matter. And again, I've made this mistake. Now I carry around my yardage sheet, so I know how far every club goes. I got half distances, I got wedge distances. So it's like, you just have to spend time. These launch monitors aren't much money anymore either. So it's like, if you're a committed golfer and you're spending thousands of dollars a year on tee times and memberships, spend $400, $500. Some of them are, maybe $800 or $1,000, but they last forever. And you can actually map out how far you hit every club. And you have to do this over like several sessions. It's not like just do it one day and try and figure out all your distances. Like, you need to hit 15, 20 shots with each club. Look at the data, throw out the outliers, like really figure out how far you truly hit it, not try and, nuke it, like just stock shots, like just figure that out. So then, when you are standing over that shot and you're saying 143, oh, that's a perfect 9-iron. And it's just like, it makes it so much easier because you're swinging with confidence, because you're not being like over the ball. Is this 9? Is this 8? I can't remember the last time I checked my distances, I've been doing speed training, or, I haven't swung a club in a month. Like, you start having all these different things. So there's a lot of different things I think to it, but hopefully that clarifies a little bit. Know your distances and don't just laser the flag.
No, definitely. And I think like clarity, I think that's such a great way to put it because I think, people can kind of get lost in the minutia of it of like, oh, I got to get this or I got to do that. But the whole point is to give yourself that clarity, that ability, are like what you said was so good also that, the words that you choose are so important because our brain doesn't know what to believe. It's just a computer. Like you're sitting there programming stuff. If you put in a bunch of junk code in there, it's not going to write, it's not going to perform the way that you want it to. So eliminating the things that aren't the duck. I have Scott Calix is one of my mentors, and he always uses this analogy when he's talking about building someone's golf swing is how would you carve a duck out of wood? Well, you take a block of wood and you cut out everything. It's not a duck. So the duck's already in the wood. We just got to take everything out of it that we don't necessarily need. The same thing that goes for our pre-shot routine or just our process in general. We're taking out the things that don't serve us, and we're just leaving in the things that do in order for us to be able to have clarity when we are hitting each shot. And then every single day you go out there on the golf course, you understand what allows you to have clarity more, because a lot of it, like the things in your list that you were talking about. Like when I am free and I'm just like having a good time and chatting with my playing partners, that helps me have the right chemicals in my brain to then allow me to achieve this clarity and achieve the flow state. So I think, being able to
practice your routine too, though. That's something that no one,
Definitely.
Everyone like thinks, yeah, the routine, that sounds good. But then like, if you don't practice it, how are you expect to be automatic on the course too? So it's like, I challenge you guys to like stop just banging range balls with a 7-iron and just be like, today I'm going to take a small bucket and I'm going to swing with intention on every single shot. I'm going to go through my routine on every single one and see how consistent you can make it. It is astonishing how much that can help your game, because you're going to be out on the course and you're going to have a nervy shot and you're going to just stick with your routine and you're going to be like, wow, I still hit it really good. Well, yeah, because you had a process. Your mind knew what we were going to do, because the physical motions usually tend to create the same mental motions too. So you're having the same mental thought. So if you all of a sudden do have a horrible thought pop into your head, you're going to be like, oh, that's not normal. Then I can step off. Maybe I'm not 100% committed. But it's like you're at least giving yourself that opportunity instead of just randomly hitting balls with no target or no intention.
And that's interesting. The bad mental thought, like that's abnormal. And that's really interesting because if you have that bad mental thought in there, a lot of people will then identify with it. Oh no, I thought about hitting it in the water. Oh no, what am I going to do? Where it's like if your belief isn't strong in your ability, then you're like, well, I guess you're right. I'm just going to hit it in the water. I'm doomed. There's nothing I can do. I'm doomed. Whereas like what you're saying is, no, that's abnormal. That's not me. And this is a sign. It's like if people are feeling, I was listening to this interview earlier today and he was talking about the only time I get nervous is when I'm unprepared. So your body knows when you're unprepared. Your body knows when, oh, I haven't done the work that's required to pull this money out of the bank. I haven't done that work yet. And so your body saying something, screaming, is just you, maybe that's just you kind of not having gone through the process of creating that clarity. And it's like, hey, we're not clear yet. Let's not go. Abort mission.
Yeah, abort. Yep, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you brought up a good point too. Like, this is all helpful, but it doesn't substitute putting in the work, right? Like, you still have to. Golf is disgustingly hard. I mean, you have to put in the reps. If you just think you're going to practice once a week and you're going to be a scratch golfer, good luck. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, I've had to spend years and years and stuff on this, but hopefully the mental stuff speeds it up a little bit, and so that way you're not just practicing all the time and not seeing results, because I've also done that, and that's probably even more frustrating because you're like, well, what's the point? Like, the more I practice, the worse I get. I've said that to myself before, so it's like then you fall into that belief system. And so it's a combination of spending intentional practice the right way and making sure that it's getting you closer to your goals and not just, again, going through the motions.
Definitely. And when you talk about intentional practice, I love what you said about I'm going to hit a small bucket, but I'm going to sit here and every shot is going to go through my full routine, put the club in the bag, take the club out of the bag, put on the glove, take off the glove, the whole routine over and over and over again. That takes a lot of intention. When you were practicing, now you're a +2 handicap. So fantastic, phenomenal golfer. Next time you're in Miami, we got to play a match. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I would absolutely love to.
that'd be so much fun. So what kind of practice habits have you added into your routine that's helped you become and sustain this great play?
Yeah, I think it's learning your weaknesses. I mean, if you just like the biggest mistake I made is just not tracking my stats enough, and then I just would practice what I thought was my weakness, but then, once I started tracking, I'm like, oh, maybe it isn't, so much ball striking, or maybe it isn't so much putting. You obviously go through changes and things like that, but I'd say the biggest thing is to work on your weaknesses. I mean, most people just run away from what they're bad at, and then they like think that somehow it's not going to show up on the course. But,
Mm-hmm.
I like in the past, I used to not be such a great bunker player, and then I wouldn't really practice as much. And then I'd walk in that bunker absolutely terrified. And it's already a hard shot for amateurs to begin with. And then, the wrong mindset, the wrong technique, good luck. And so I think that knowing what your weaknesses are is step one. And then it's going into that kind of like I just said with a plan. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're like your best workouts or when you say, hey, I'm going to go in there today. I got chest, try, I'm doing a push circuit today. I'm doing pull tomorrow. I'm going to do these 4 workouts. I'm going to, track my weights. I'm going to do a warm up here. I'm going to do some mobility, and then I'm going to end it here. Like when you go into a workout and you have a plan, it's going to be a better workout versus like, oh, that machine's full, so I'm going to go over there. And you're just kind of
Mm-hmm.
wandering around. And it's just like, why did I even come work out? I've done all those mistakes too. So it's like same thing with golf. Like if you just go out there and you're like, hopefully I get better today. It's like, let's set a plan. Like on the way, before you get out of your car, I want you to just have a note in your phone and say, how long do you have? 30 minutes. Perfect. 30 minutes. All you're going to do is short putts today. And you're going to do 10 minutes with short putts with a mirror, 10 minutes with your routine, and then 10 minutes like simulated pressure putting. Perfect. That's 30 minutes. You're at least dialed. You can say, hey, today I got 90 minutes. Okay, what are we working on? Well, statistically, my driving is the worst right now. So I'm going to go through my full bag, get warmed up. Then I'm going to focus on driver. I'm going to do this, and then maybe I'll do some speed training. Or like you're going into it saying, hey, here are my weaknesses. Here's how I'm going to get better. And then you just keep doing that. And again, it's just sometimes you're going to kind of peak in different areas. And when you constantly know your game, and if you're playing a little bit more, it obviously makes it a little bit easier to kind of know. But it's just about making sure you're working on the stuff that is showing up poorly for you on the course so you can hopefully strengthen it. And then at the end of the day, I just don't think you can ever practice short game enough. So, I mean, I've never known anyone that has too good of a short game. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
completely bored and you don't know what to do, or you didn't have a plan, just go work on your short game. I mean, that's truly where 60% of your shots are happening for, if not more. So it's like, just spend more time, because your good days will get great and your bad days will become good with a good short game. So I just think that I have so many videos. Every time I go to the range, I just video the full driving range, people waiting, and then you video the chipping green with one guy, and you video the putting green with one guy, and it's just, they're so sad. And so it's like, just spend time on the stuff that actually matters. That'll help.
Oh, dude, it's nuts. Like I told you, I'm the assistant coach of this golf team, so I have them track these low-hanging fruits, which are essentially balls out of play, missed greens with chip shots, and 3 putts. Okay, these are things that we can,
Those are perfect.
we can't eliminate them. 3 putts happen. You end up in a bad spot. It's a tough tee shot. Things happen. But those are the things that lead to double bogeys usually. So I had him count today. We had a match. Did not play very well. Lost by a lot. I think we lost by like 30. But
Still
golf. But I had him count after the round. How many of these low hanging fruits do we have today? We had 35. And everybody wants to go like, Coach, we got to go to the driving range. You got to hit driver. My driver's the problem. I'm like, dude, I didn't see anybody in the trees today. Like you guys hit it fine. But like you had 14 3 putts, and it's just like the missed greens here, and it's so I'm okay. We're here. We're vibe. No thoughts, just vibes.
I like that too.
It leads to your point. It's understanding your weaknesses and like being able. There you go. Fewer thoughts, more vibes. I love that. But it really leads you to, so much of the golf game happens around the greens, and if we can eliminate some of these low-hanging fruits, just go practice short game. Just go learn how to hit a basic bump and run chip shot. Go learn how to get a ball out of the bunker, and go learn how to hit like a safety shot out of a bad lie. Like if you can have kind of these 3 shots, a low one, kind of high one, bunker shot, and a safety one, those 4 shots, you will be okay. and then trusting, like with the short game, this is my one piece of advice: set up the club for the lie and then just go smooth. Like you don't have to then try to hit it. Just go smooth. That's my one short game tip.
Well, I mean, like when I was actually just back home in Oregon where I grew up, and I was at the course where I dropped 50 shots, and I was just like filming some videos. It was kind of a surreal moment. It's like 20 years later, I'm filming videos for YouTube, and I'm out there, and I just remember, I'm like, my God, I spent so much time out here because I was hitting at 180, right? Like I had nowhere to go. And so I knew I had to have a good short game. And I think that's a gift as well. I mean, obviously, I want everyone to hit it farther because you're going to make golf easier. But at the end of the day, I practice my short game relentlessly. And I still feel like chipping is the best part of my game. And I remember, having a day in high school where I hit 2 greens in regulation and shot 74 because my short game was dialed, So it's like you can't have a short game that's too good. It won't happen. And so there's nothing more frustrating than playing with a guy that slaps it around and then makes par all day. It wears your competitors down, especially if you're doing match play.
My goodness, especially if you're doing match play. This guy's in the trees and he's 50 yards out. He chips one up there to 10 feet, rolls it in. You're like, dude, I've had 20 feet. Now I have 4 feet to tie the hole. What's going on?
It's the best. It's the wicked smart mental hack right there. Just work on the short game more. There's a reason. Just be different than everyone else. Most golfers are on the range, hitting mid irons, not getting better. 14.2 is the average male. So how do we do it? Go exact opposite route. Ignore what they're doing, and make sure to don't be afraid to go against the crowd when you're out there practicing. Whether that's competitive practice, speed training, doing putting drills instead of banging balls, like go out there and do different and you're going to get different results.
Well, I like that. Do different, you're going to get different. So the male handicap you mentioned is 14.2. It really hasn't gone down a whole lot, and golf has never been easier.
Like, I mean, we've never had more training aids, more YouTube videos, more everything. And distance really hasn't improved either. If you look at the USGA stuff with distance year over year, it is nominal. I mean, it is still the average male is 93.4 miles an hour and 215 off the tee. And
that's nuts. The driver's this big, ball goes forever.
460 cc's. You got speed training devices everywhere. Gyms are everywhere. Yet most people are hitting it the exact same. And so, you gotta figure out where your weaknesses are. And so if you can start driving it, I think the average male scratch golfer is like 259. If you can get over 250, you can become single digit handicap, no problem. Like the distance is the hard part for a lot of people though. But again, it doesn't happen overnight. You do have to do different to get different, like we just said. And if you're just, going out there and hitting randomly and don't have any structured plan, or you work with 12 different coaches online, or you just don't really have it, so it's like, I think it just kind of loops back to like, make sure you know who you want to be, like what are your goals, have a plan for them. Don't be afraid to be looked at differently. If you're recording your swing, or, I'll do some competitive practice where I'll do some push-ups and then I'll go and hit a golf shot, get my heart rate up. People look at me weird all the time. Look at my handicap, look at yours, like that's like, I love it. I love being different because it's for a purpose. And, the practice is not like normal rounds, and especially not like tournament rounds. So you have to find ways to make practice more effective.
Oh, definitely. Because I mean, that's where we're able to build all these routines and these habits, and that belief and trust that we are truly trained, that we are ready to hit the shots at hand that we've decided that we're going to hit. And you mentioned goals a couple of times. I want to kind of talk about some goals. So when you're working with your clients, how do you have them set goals, or are you having them look long-term and short-term, or you're having them look, what are my goals for this round? What are my goals for the future? And how do you kind of go about having your clients set these goals and then developing a plan to try to tackle them?
Yeah, I mean, I love goals. I mean, goals change my life and on and off the course. And I think that a lot of people, we get older and we just like stop setting goals. We just get way too complacent, and complacency is just terrifying. Just thinking about doing the same thing year over year over year, just never getting better, never even trying is the scariest thing in the world for me. So I encourage all my students to dream huge. I want big goals, and I want them. It doesn't mean you're always going to get them. And I've set some lofty goals in business and golf, and I haven't achieved a lot of them. But man, I've gotten a lot further than I ever thought I would versus setting really small goals. So I think it comes down. What was that? Yeah,
haven't achieved them yet.
Yeah, 100%. Trust me, we're just getting started, man. And I feel like goals are great. They fire you up. So you have to have the process, you have to have the big picture goals, and then you have to have the process to achieve them, right? So it's like, I do encourage everyone to have like big long-term goals. Like have a bucket list of goals for golf, make it to a USGA event, become a scratch golfer, play in your first tournament, play in 10 tournaments a year, whatever it is. Like have some big ones there. I'm all for it. And then you also want to have some yearly goals too, right? So something we're kind of chopping on and chopping down a little bit, every single one. So handicap goals are easy because, you can actually track it, right? Like a lot of goals, you just can't really track. So it's just kind of like hard to do. So I like that if you have big goals, which is great, but then we got to chunk them down with, well, okay, how am I going to achieve these? What are the processes I need to make? So, I think like we talked about, distance is key. Like distance directly correlates to lower handicaps. I encourage everyone to hit it 250 or more. It makes golf so much easier. So let's just say you're the 215 average male, and then you want to get to 259. Okay, so we have some serious work to do, but that's a goal, right? So we know, hey, it might happen this year, it might happen in a year. Like I don't really put a deadline on that one. But let's just say we have that goal. Okay, great, fantastic goal because you can measure it, right? So 215, 259. So what are the process to get that? Maybe it's a lesson once every 6 weeks, because if you're hitting in the middle of the face, you're going to hit it longer. Okay, that's something I can do. Speed training. Okay, great. I'm going to speed train twice a week. Takes 15, 20 minutes. You buy a ripstick, you get it started, you do it. Or you use the Tour Tempo app, maybe use that twice a week in practice. Okay, so you're saying, hey, here's my big goal, here's how I'm going to achieve it. And you just check it, right? So it's just like consistently making it as easy as you can to do. And then after, 8 weeks or whatever you want to do your check-in, hey, am I getting closer to my goal? Yeah, I went up to 235. Now I'm training in the right direction. Keep going. Oh, this didn't do anything. Okay, well, maybe I need to rework it. Maybe I need to, do something different, or maybe talk to this coach about, what I'm doing, or maybe I need to get fit for a new driver. It's like, you got to figure out different ways to do it, and then try to measure it as much as you can, but not obsess over it. Like, I don't like people looking and be like, oh, I'm not there today. It's like, you got to have those different goals and stuff. But again, it just comes down to, what can I do? Like everything in life and golf is just about being consistent. Like most people just set a goal and they have fun with that part, but then they're like, it's a lot of work. I'm not going to do it. And then think how many times people have set goals January 1st and then February, they're already an afterthought. So it's like, you got to be consistent with it. I think that's just the biggest thing. And so that's why I like coaching people, because I'll check in with them like, hey, did we actually speed train? Hey, did you actually, do your mindset stuff off the course? Hey, did you track your stats? Like, so it's like kind of checking in with them, and everybody's different. A 45-year-old guy is very different than a 17-year-old who's trying to get into a D1 school. So it's like kind of fun to see, what different people's goals are. And I just try to help them, be accountable and provide some different solutions and look at it from a different perspective sometimes than they are, just because I can see things a little different, because we get really into it sometimes on our own, and sometimes we're too immersed. So you kind of got to like get yourself out of the jungle and kind of have that 30,000 foot view sometimes.
Oh, definitely. And that's why, having a coach is so important, and somebody who can really understand the importance of the mental game. And I always try to strike that balance with my players, because we do work on the technical side of it, and we do work on the swing and on the course management and everything, but understanding that, we aren't, everything that we're doing still has a bigger picture from where we're going. And, we still need to balance the performance elements of it. And we have to be able to have the expectation management, and we got to be able to just go through our goals. Okay, well, are our goals measurable? So I've really enjoyed using the Sportsbox AI app, which does a good job of being able to make things measurable. Where it's like, okay, I have my chest turn, our chest turn at this P3 needs to be like 80 degrees. So we'll check it. Where is it here? It's 65. Okay, well, you do this work for 2 weeks, you come back and let's check it. And so, hey, look, boom, we're at 80, and then we can match it up with what's going on here, kind of ball flight wise. So then being able to, have some sort of team where you have somebody who's looking at it from a 30,000 foot point of view, and being able to give you some more insight into kind of the more big picture, holistic side of it. Super, super important. And so who are kind of the majority of the people that you're working with? Like, could, does an 18 handicapper can they get value from mental training?
Absolutely. I mean, it's pretty cool. I've worked with probably, I think, +3, +4 is the best, all the way up to probably 20, all the way from, I think I have one here right in Phoenix, all the way to India. So it's fascinating to work with. Yeah. I mean, it's like, they have golf is very different in India, by the way. When he was telling me about it, I was like, wow, everybody has caddies every round, like fascinating stuff. So what I love is I just want to work with people that are committed. Like, I don't really care what your handicap is. or I just want to know where you want to go and that you're actually willing to put in the work. Because like we said earlier, do different to get different. Too many people just don't even, they just are like, yeah, they want to get better, but they're not really like, actually doing the stuff they want to do. So I only work with people that are like, yes, I love golf. It's a big part of my life. I want to improve. It doesn't matter if you want to play tournaments or you want to go to college. Like, I just want to work with people that love golf and want to get better, because I know what it's like to stay stuck. That sucks. There's nothing worse than that. And sometimes you just need somebody to kind of help you out a little bit and, cheer you on and make sure that you're using the right strategies. And because it's so easy to get down on yourself, all it takes is one bad round to be like, man, I'm the worst. Why do I even play this game? So it's like, I try and be there to help people out with that. So I don't really have like a type of person per se. It's really just working with super committed people, and they, listen to my podcast or follow me on YouTube, and they're like, I just really need something like this to kind of help me out. And, like we said in our podcast, on my show, it's like the mental game is just so neglected, and we're just always thinking about swings sometimes. So hopefully I can, just kind of reframe stuff with people and give them the right optimism that they need to keep going, even if you're not seeing results in your swing. And if you're, going through a tough time, it's like, you have to have that right stuff up here. Otherwise, it's so easy to quit this game. I read a study that like 3 million golfers quit every year. That's terrifying. So
really,
hopefully we can make a dent in that.
That's wild. And yet I as I've started coaching more and instructing more, I always thought I was like, I'm only going to work with like tour players, or only going to work with great players, because that's, kind of the world that I had been around. But really what makes me have the most joy and satisfaction is taking somebody who really doubted themselves and really just, spent thousands of dollars a year on golf trips and golf memberships, and they would just go and they would just play terrible and they wouldn't be happy. And they go out on the golf course and they're like excited to play golf until they show up and they're just like, oh, this always happens to me. I'm yelling, I'm cursing, I'm screaming. I'm like, dude, like, we can have fun. Like we're allowed to have fun. We're paying a lot of money to do this. Like, we are allowed to enjoy yourself and, express yourself and listen to music.
Well, like
and,
the mid handicap too. Like, that's probably the most fun, because there's so many things you can do that you can tell them. And like, I'll get texts like, wow, I played 5 shots better than normal. I didn't do anything different. It's like,
there's just hard.
It's like tour players is hard, because then you're working with guys that are already super good, and it's like the smallest little things. So it's like, you work with the everyday golfer, man, they'll be super stoked. They can get improvements very fast sometimes.
Oh, it's wild. Like, I remember I caddied for a friend of mine who's a good golfer. He's a 4 or 5 handicap. We went out and we used that shot pattern app, and I was speaking about like the rangefinders. I haven't used a rangefinder in a year. All I do is use the GPS, and it's like, okay, I'm splitting the middle and the back number, or I'm splitting the front and the middle number.
Okay,
that's it. So
it's like, smart. I like it.
Hey, this guy's connected right here. So like,
I see what you did.
Doing, like that was a little.
I did. That was impressive. Okay.
So like what I did was essentially, I'm like, look at this dot. This is where we're going. Hit it here. Hit it here. Hit it here. And then he like started to get kind of frustrated with a couple things. He's like, I'm not making any birdies. Like, I'm a couple over par. And I'm like, dude, patience. Things will come. We get a couple par 5s. He makes some birdies. Boom. He shoots 200 par. He never broken par before in his life. And we didn't do anything. Like, I didn't touch his swing. We didn't really, I just said, go that way.
Yeah.
Here.
It's about, I really think if me and you like caddy for the everyday golfer, sometimes we could help him 5 shots, just that round, not doing anything, just by thinking the right way and being like, when they pull lob wedge from that lie, be like, here's your pitching wedge,
Yeah,
like,
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're just like, what's going on?
You are not good enough for the shot yet. Like, just, again, you got to take the ego out of it. I've watched so many golfers ruin their rounds because of ego. This guy's hitting this club, so I'm going to try and hit it. What are you doing?
And so aside from kind of some of the unique things that you shared about, like, doing push-ups or, training different to be different, what are some kind of unconventional methods that you come across for improving people's golf skills?
I think getting on the course more. I think that the driving range is only so good, but I mean, like, just getting in the arena more. If that might mean playing more golf, or if you really want to get good, getting into tournaments. I think that's the biggest thing for me is, you can be the best range player in the world, and you can be pretty good in casual rounds, but man, once you're out there and they call your name on that first tee, it's a different beast. You're playing with different people, tuck pins. You're worried about results all of a sudden. You have to putt everything out, play by the rules of golf. Like, it's just a whole different thing. So I challenge everyone. Doesn't matter what your handicap is either. I mean, find flighted events if you need to at the beginning, but just get in there, because that's the
Mm-hmm.
easiest way to see where your game is, because tournament golf will expose you. But if you have the right mindset and you have a growth mindset and you're like, well, I'm going to learn from this, and you're like, wow, I hit 6 bad bunker shots. Okay, but I never hit bad bunker shots before. Clearly, that is probably a weakness. And so it's like tournament golf is right there for so many people, but I can't tell you how many people reach out and say, I want to, but I'm worried about what this guy's going to think about me at the club if I shoot bad, or what is this person going to think about me? And it's like, man, that's and I'm sure I definitely used to do that. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm 100% sure that I thought about that before too. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're all going to be dead, and no one's going to care what you shot in that tournament. You know what I mean? Like, it's seriously though, even a week from now, no one is going to care what you shot that club championship if you shit the bed. No one is going to care. But it's like we blow these things up and make it's like life or death. And again, these are amateur golfers. Like, you were playing for your livelihood. It's a little bit different there. But like, they're still going to have their family love them. They're still going to be able to pay the bills. But I just challenge everyone to get into tournaments, because most people love it, and it's just so fun. You meet cool people, you get to play new courses, you get to see what you're more motivated to practice too. Like, when I have tournaments coming up, I'm way more motivated because I know that it is going to be there, and I do want to do my best. And it just has, it's like when you go on vacation, and you're like, hey, I don't want to be fat on the beach, I'm going to lose some weight, so you circle it on the calendar and you stay a little more committed to the diet and fitness side. Same thing with golf. You circle that thing on the calendar and you're like, man, I got a tournament coming up in a month. No half-assing it. Like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to actually work today, I'm going to stick with my practice plan, I'm going to work with my coach. Like, I think it's just so fun. And it's like, I think most guys need competition. I think that we really lose competition the older we get, and it's innate in us. I mean, I think everybody has a competitive spirit, and I think there's worse ways you could spend your time other than playing competitive golf. I think that there's a lot of bad habits that we get into, but if you have something to stay focused on, it fulfills you and makes you really excited and gives you something to look forward to.
Oh, definitely. And there's nothing better than like being the man in the arena, being the person who's on stage, even if it is for, 8 or 9 seconds at a time. But every time you are hitting that golf shot, you are putting yourself out there. You are being vulnerable. There is a chance that you embarrass yourself, or there's a chance that you're a hero. You just made a hole in one.
There's
nothing
goodness. More rewarding than just hitting a good shot in a tournament. Like, I had a tournament a couple weeks ago, and I was the defending champ, and they said my name, Michael Leonard, defending champion 2022 or 2023, and I just got up and I absolutely crushed my three. I hit my 3-wood because I was trying to lay back, and I hit it past both their drivers. I was like just so juiced up.
That's awesome.
And now anytime I'm on the first tee, I'm just using that memory for the future. And it's like you can do that with any club in the bag. You'll hit a hybrid on a par 5, gave yourself an eagle putt. Like, next time you pull that hybrid out during a casual round, you're just like, man, I did that. And it's just very rewarding. It's just nice to see your hard work pay off sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And that memory is so key. I know you just kind of mentioned it there lightly, but really remembering those things and those moments and reliving them and play your highlight reel back. So the next time you do go grab that 6-iron or the hybrid or the putter, it has good vibes. And it's not stuck with all the negative things that you kind of have in there. And the thing that you said is so true. Sometimes people, if I play in, let's just say a state open qualifier or something where I'm paired with, it's me and a 3 or 4 handicap and a 5 handicap or something like that. And they're like, oh, I'm so nervous. Like you're so much better than me or whatever. And it's like even if I'm playing with like a 20 handicapper, like at the golf course, and they're like, oh, I don't want to like hold you up, or it's whatever. It's like, I've told a couple of people this. I'm like, this is a good thing and a bad thing. No one cares. Like, the only thing I'm going to remember is if you're a good person or not. Are you fun to hang out with? Are you a good hang? Are you somebody who didn't get angry and start yelling and throwing things and making my day not enjoyable? As long as you're a good hang and you play relatively quickly, then we are going to get along and we're going to have a great time. And I'm going to cheer you on. I'm going to be your fan that day. Like, let's go. Because if you make putts, chances are that hole is open and it's time for me to make some putts. So
yeah, and I actually think about this. I don't know why this just kicked in when I was in high school. I was playing with one of my uncles, and I remember kind of saying something like that. Like, I was worried. I was, like a mid handicap, so let's just say I was shooting 90, and he was like, "You understand? You could go play with someone that's shooting par, and it's only gonna take you one more shot. Like, you're really not slowing people down as much as you think." But I mean, at 15, I was like, "That's so true." It's not like you're it's not like it's taking you 3 times as many. And like in that example, those guys are 4 or 5 shots worse, so they might, maybe make a couple more bogeys, and like people think they're worse than they are sometimes. And it's like if you have that right routine, like we talked about, I'm a big fan of pace of play. I'm not saying you should slow down. That is the exact opposite, right? So it's like when you have that routine, you're actually going to play better, which means less looking for golf balls, which means you're going to have more time to get to know your playing partners. You're probably going to have more fun. It's going to be kind of a win-win-win. So yeah, it's just kind of funny how it all works out. We always blow things up and make it like so scary, or what's that person's going to go and like talk about me, and nobody really cares, unless you're, like you said, unless you're a bad person.
And have you ever noticed that people don't ever do the what if the other way? Because they want to create the hypothetical, but it's like, what if the hypothetical is negative? I never really hear people saying, what if the good thing happens?
Well, yeah, we're a survival mechanism. So yeah, we're hardwired for negativity. We're always thinking worst case. We're never thinking, I might go out, like now when I go out with a pro, my goal is always to beat a pro. Like if I got paired with you in a tournament, my goal would absolutely be to beat you, because I'd be like, I have a job, like that's like how so I flip it. But I used to be like, oh my God, he's a pro. He's so much better than me. I'm going to slow him down. I used to do exactly that. Now I'm like, we're all here. It's still golf. And it's like kind of the miracle speech, right? Like 99 times out of 100, they're not going to get it. But today could be your day. Like, I tell myself miracle and any given Sunday quotes all the times in tournaments. I'm Tony Robbins in my head, just consistently hyping myself up. So yeah, like you said, that comes though from putting in the work. You can't just be negative all day and then expect to be positive during a tournament or when you're playing with a good player, right? So it is off course work, but it's fun when that pops up and you're like, damn, I really do believe in myself. Wow, I really can do this.
Yeah, and that's so cool. And I think, we're on a similar journey, I feel like, in trying to improve people's self-belief, their self-image. So when they do kind of shock themselves by saying, oh my goodness, like I really do believe myself. I really do have that ability to pull this shot off. Isn't that cool? Like that's such a great feeling. And, we're really trying to help people kind of achieve those things and be able to access the best parts of them.
Because it pays off the golf course too. I mean, if you start to do stuff on the golf course you never thought possible, well, what if I could do that in fitness? What if I could do that in my business? What if I do that in my relationships? Like, this isn't just like, I had a guest who's like, your mind isn't just your golf mind. It's the same thing you use all day, every day for everything else. So it's like, once you start to believe it's possible and then you do it on the golf course, maybe it's like, I could do something with this goal or this goal. So yeah, my whole like mission is to just help people open up their mind to possibilities, because we're capable of so much more than most of us give ourselves credit for, but most people never even try. So it's like, I just try to shift some beliefs just like you do. And it's amazing. It's wildly rewarding, the ripple effect that it can get in people's lives.
Oh, absolutely. And, because all of us have that kind of survival mechanism, we need to think different to get different. So everybody wants to fall into that same survival mechanism, or everyone wants to not believe in themselves. We got to think different to do different. I'm going to write that on my note card.
Yes.
I'm going to keep that around me.
Buddies over here.
Well, let's wrap this thing up, Michael. Thank you so much for all your time. This was so much fun. I think, I just randomly sent you an email trying to get on the podcast, and I have a feeling we're going to be good friends. And what I really want to do,
we're going to have fun whenever we play golf. It will be a great time. There's no doubt.
What would be fun?
It's going to be low. I have a feeling we're both just going to be on fire, just making putts, fist bumps. Yeah, it's going to be good. And even if not, we'll still have fun.
Absolutely. But we should, just throwing this out into the ether, we should do a wicked smart and stay connected golf tournament.
I like it.
I think, like we said, people need some things to play in. I think we have a couple of great audiences who want to get better at golf, who are committed, who are putting in the work. And if we can put a bunch of the same-minded people together, we can create fantastic things.
I like it. Like we said, you got to get into tournaments, got to try it out.
Definitely. So, Michael, I'll let you have the last couple words here. How can people find you? How can they kind of learn more about what it is that you have to teach? If they wanted to take personal, private kind of coaching lessons from you, how can they?
Yeah, so everything is Wicked Smart Golf. So my book is on Amazon and Audible, and then I'm working on the sequel right now. So excited for Wicked Smart Golf 2 to come out. And then on YouTube, podcast, Instagram, everything is just Wicked Smart Golf. So super easy to find. And I got 300 plus episodes in the podcast vault there. So if you need some expert interviews, some solo interviews, some 5-Minute Fridays. Got a lot of content out there. And then, pretty much anywhere you are, that's where Wicked Smart's trying to be.
That's awesome. Everyone check it out. He really is very, very smart person. He's wicked smart, some may say, and he really is a fun person to talk to. So, Michael, thank you so much for being on. Looking forward to chatting with you soon.
Of course, man. I appreciate it. Thanks again for having me.